Greetings, everyone. Welcome to, this is Brony Debates. Yeah, that's the show. Goodness, I'm out of it today already. I hope you're all having a wonderful weekend. We're going to have a lovely conversation tonight in continuance with, of a conversation that one of our guests tonight and I were having back at Mare Fair a few weeks ago. And, yeah, so we were just kind of hanging out, playing games. Aventicus, Heather and I, and Aventicus had said something about not liking Josh Haber, and I thought he was crazy. I still kind of think he's crazy, so he's gonna try to convince me. And also joining us is what do we call you? We call you Ridge Racer. We call you Mojo. What are we calling you, sir?
Yeah, Ridge Racer is fine.
All right, Ridge Racer, Ridge for short. And Heather, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing just fine. I feel like being a bit of a devil.
Oh, you know something though? I gotta start getting into the habit of calling you Petals, because you changed your
oh my god!
Did
you just detonate me? Did you just detonate me?
We're all about dead naming people on this dojo, Heather.
Oh my god! You're the worst.
Yeah, screw you and your pronouns. Frickin'.
You bitch!
Anyway, if you guys want to, in the audience, want to participate in the conversation, the best way to do that is to leave a tip with your message. And those links are all up in the description. In fact, let me just double check and make sure that's actually, yep, yes, they are. Yeah, we don't have a call-in server tonight, but we will the next time we do Reddit reading. Ridge Racer, did you just post an emoji of a pregnant man, or is he just fat?
Maybe it's up to interpretation.
They do MPreg now?
Yeah.
Wait, I want to do it.
They did that a few years ago. They added that emoji in, and it was kind of controversial because it's like, yeah, men can't get pregnant. The frick.
Hold on. I don't have MPreg. What the fuck?
You just search up pregnant, and then it will show pregnant women and MPreg.
Go Jillian saying Petals.
I only have pregnant women. This is gay. I want the progressive emojis.
I don't want the progressive emoji. I don't.
I bet they're in there somewhere.
I don't care what you want.
I deal with progressives too much in my everyday life as it is. All right, so let's get to it, guys. Ave, so you said a few weeks ago you don't like Josh Haber. Can you tell me why?
All right. So initially,
yes,
before I did my research, the reason I did not like Josh Haber is because I thought he ruined the writing of the later seasons of MLP, to where the quality of the episode was going down significantly. Now, I said that because I thought he was directly responsible as a writer. What I didn't know is that even still as a writer, what he did was he took over as story editor for season 6 through 8. So that is where that was actually what I was complaining about, was the overall season quality, not necessarily the specific episodes that he worked on. What is going on in the background?
Oh, sorry. It's my fucking desk.
Okay.
Heather
can't just fiddle with shit anymore. You guys will notice.
Yeah, she's probably playing with a fidget spinner or something.
Understandable. I got a pen in my hand. So having seen what episodes he wrote and co-wrote, I realized that he is not a bad writer. In fact, he's a pretty good one. It is the fact he is a bad editor. He's a bad director. And I will get more into this further into the debate, but that's kind of what sparked it. So
interesting. And Ridge, what do you think of Josh Haber?
I think that he does have the ability to write a good story. He's shown that plenty of times. But what I think he's really bad at is he's a bad character writer. He just has an inability to write character, and he has like 80 assumptions that goes into his character writing that makes everything shit.
Really? Can you give You know what? That's a good synopsis. We'll get into specifics in a little bit. Now, Heather, what do you think about Josh Haber?
You know, ultimately the guy's a mixed bag, but he literally wrote the worst season finale ever of all time, the Cutie Remark, and I'm just not about that shit. It's not even just about Starlight, guys. I'm telling you, it's not just about Starlight. I hate time travel. I fucking hate time travel. So, you know, I won't start. Not yet. Won't start.
Rusty going, so this whole debate is based on a misunderstanding?
That's how the best debates start.
Well, yeah, so apparently, you know, Ave just wasn't paying attention. And so I don't think, I can't really find a whole lot of fault in anything that Josh Haber really did. And I asked my Discord server, and they were very helpful in pulling up the list of episodes that he had written. And because one of the things that you had said, Ave, was he puts the lesson or the moral over the story. And that was something that I remember you saying at Mare Fair that caught me off guard. And so I'm looking at these, and honestly, I am not seeing it. I see a couple in this list of episodes that he wrote where I could see how somebody might make that argument and where they'd be coming from. But overall, ultimately, I don't see it. So what you were saying was he took over as the story director from...
story editor.
Editor.
Yeah, which just kind of means he's like in charge of the season overall.
Okay, and for what period of time did he have that title?
Season 6 through 8.
6 through 8. Okay, so I will say, and as I've said before, 8 had a higher ratio of not as good episodes, and it definitely had the most bad episodes. Like, usually there's, like, in my opinion, one bad episode a season. 8 had like 3. And, 3, maybe even 4, and a few others that weren't as good. So, ultimately, I didn't really have a problem with 6, 7, and... I had a few problems with 8, but 6 and 7, as far as I could tell, were great. So what was your problem with 6, 7, and 8?
Part of it stems from Starlight Glimmer. Let me explain this as best I can.
I'm listening.
As you know, whenever her name is brought up, you're so quick to trash on her. Starlight Glimmer. I love that mare. In fact, she is overall my favorite character of the entire show. There was this precedent set in season 6 through 8, where she was treated as a main character, but not as part of the status quo. The status quo was still the main 6. It's Twilight Sparkle, Pinkie Pie, Fluttershy, Rarity, Applejack, Rainbow Dash. It's like it's the core 6. The mares that sell the toys that everybody's known since 2010. And we start throwing in all these characters and whatnot. And I'm sure that he had Hasbro on his neck in the hub and whatever. But there was this disconnect of where Starlight was kind of supposed to be part of the main 6, supposed to be, not the main 7, because Twilight's an alicorn. So having Starlight into the mix, reintroduces the balance of 2 Earth ponies, 2 Pegasi, and 2 unicorns. But she was always still treated as secondary, as, kind of like Trixie or, the Cakes, or who's a also often recurring secondary character. Big Mac. Where she just like kind of got relegated, which I'm sure there was some weird decision making up on high that kind of made that reflect in the show as a whole. But even in the comics, she barely had any real appearances. So I'm not sure who that was up to. So that's part of it. And Josh Haber was overseeing that. In fact, I don't really think he... Oh, no, he did. He might have been like him being like one of probably the biggest writers for Starlight Glimmer, because, he got the Cutie Remark, he got Wear Him Back Again. You got the shadow play, all that, like which really featured Starlight Glimmer as a main character. So it's just kind of weird to see throughout the rest of the seasons her kind of not be considered part of the core. So that's part of it.
Okay.
Is just another part really in season 8, because season 6 and 7 weren't as great as Offender, because season 8 is when the school came about. That's when things got really weird. That's when it started. It's like take the Chancellor Naisei episode, and like when they're trying to get their school accredited, and Chancellor Naisei goes, "No, you can't. I don't like anyone that's not a pony." And it's just seems almost like a straw man. I mean, I know what he was. This is what I spoke to you back in Mare Fair, where he was put there as a means to explain why it was necessary to have a school of friendship, which still was so very confusing because, Lauren Faust in the very early episodes had Celestia say that you can't teach friendship or friendship. There's no school for friendship. And now there is one, seasons after she's left. And it just was weird that you had to throw in a school to teach friendship when the entire show up to that point, that was never about that. In fact, what was the point of even having the cutie map at all? If not, just have the school just to sell toys, which I'm sure is the real answer there, is to sell toys. And even then with the Student 6, I mean, where did that even go? That is also a problem of just, there's clear, there's writers who want to write well, and also writers that can't write for anything, who want to say, hey, Hasbro's given us these characters, or, whoever was in charge of introducing new characters, Josh Haber at the time, wants us to do something with this, so let's try. And like, how do you do that without, like, especially in that vein, without just like ripping off of Harry Potter or creating a stereotypical, or just putting Equestria girls in, the main universe as we know it. How do you avoid that without it just being an awkward jumble? I mean, you're teaching friendship, you're not teaching anything practical, and then you got people of, high school, creatures of high school age apparently skipping, actual school to go learn about something that you can't really teach. It almost feels like an education camp if you really think about it. It's just so bizarre. And it just really seemed, it kind of took from what the spirit of MLP was for such a long time. I mean, for 7 seasons, even if like season 6 and 7 were kind of struggling, it was about this slice of life with these, bookended by these incredible set pieces of crazy, chaotic stories of where they really are battling these ultimate evils to still bring friendship, magical friendship, beam solves everything. And that just gets relegated to essentially under the veil of the vein, the purview of a school marm. And it's just like, what is this going to teach anybody? You got your bronies who are like, oh, this is terrible. This sucks. I hate this. This is horrible. I can't believe they, did this to my main 6. I can't believe they've stunted themselves on writing. I can't believe they brought in writers that don't know anything about the show. I can't believe, this, that, and the other thing. And it just goes on and on and on. But it just, Josh Haber is I understand that he is not the overall cause. It takes 2 to tango, but because he is the story editor, he is the root cause for what the shift was. See, I feel like if he didn't get made story editor, he would not be remembered for what he is. But as a writer, my goodness, wow, he co-writing with Nick Vogel, wrote one of my absolute favorite episodes of season, like the whole show, and it was season 6, was Stranger Than Fan Fiction. I love that episode, so good. And it shows that people like, he did love the show, even if, he hadn't ever, he actually never watched a single episode before he got hired. It was actually Megan McCarthy that referred him, who then hired him. So that's how he got in. And then he started watching the show, which it's kind of funny. I mean, I'm sure there's something to be said about hiring somebody that doesn't know too much about your material that he's going to be working on aside from whatever he's seen on YouTube. And in fact, he used YouTube as a reference for, for his character writing. He admitted it in an interview that I watched, trying to prepare for this.
Well, that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
But let me just interject with this real quick, if it can do so without disrupting your train of thought too much. If I was a professional writer, because we know that there's not really very many fandoms that I'm a part of or shows that I follow too closely and know a lot about.
Mhm.
So if I'm a professional writer, being me, and somebody says, "Hey, I've got a job for you," there's certain levels to, how much you care about a franchise and how much you how good your integrity is as a writer if you're being brought on for a franchise. And I would me personally, if I get a job that's about a franchise that I know nothing about, like let's say they called me tomorrow and say, hey, we want you to write for Power Rangers or Care Bears or G.I. Joe or something like that, or literally anything. I'd be like, okay, cool. The money's there. I can live off this. Beautiful. By the end of the week, I'll know everything about that show. Because I will have binged everything, as well as also gone on to YouTube and done and studied it and see what like people thought about it and how things were received in the fandom. And so that's that's what I would do in that situation personally. But so what else were you gonna say?
I mean, it's just I think for him as a writer, listening to him talk during his interviews, all writers, really all artists, have an ego to them, every single one of them, which when it comes to art, you kind of have to have, because if you're not confident in what you're creating, then there's not going to be any spirit of the artist in there or any like good measure of it. So you have to have a little bit of an ego, maybe people like C.S. Lewis or Tolkien were exceptions to the rule. But I could tell that really, and I relate to this as a writer myself, that he had a tendency to seek for validation in what he did before validating what he wrote instead. If that makes any sense. Where
It does not. Please elaborate.
Well. So like, gosh, I'm just trying to be clever with the turn of phrase. He wanted people to like what he did, but I don't think if he wanted to like what he did himself. Like, I think he just wanted to put something out there that people liked, regardless of what it was, without first focusing on making it good, because he wanted it to be good, because he liked it, where he, prioritized the praise over, the work itself, which I guess that's every artist. They're not really prioritizing, but they do seek for it. If you make something you want and you're going to share it with the public, you're going to want people to think it's good. But I feel like he had a tendency to maybe more towards the end when he was a story editor instead of like in the beginning, a tendency to want the praise first. And then if criticized, like, I mean, he was saying in the interview that I listened to that when Castlemania came out, the first episode he ever wrote, there were a couple of critical comments of it on Twitter, and he was talking about how those are what he was focusing on. I mean, I can't really blame him. I mean, as a creator, when you get criticized, it's you want to know why.
Yeah, I can sympathize with that.
Yeah.
So that's all really interesting. I have some rebuttals on some points that you made, but before I do that, I want to see if either of the others have anything they would like to add or take away from what you said. He's been ranting for a couple of minutes there, guys. Racer, do you have anything that you want to, that you want to add or take away?
Expand from like the synopsis I gave in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, wait. So what did I say? So what I said was that I think that Josh Haber has the ability to write a good story, but he can't write characters. Not really. Sometimes he can, but generally it's more the exception than the rule. So let me just go on to the episodes that he wrote. The thing that I think is very indicative of this is the QD remark, because I think this season 5 was when he was at that time very self-aware that he didn't like to write characters. He would rather write a story. And you can see this very much in QT Remark. It's a very good full-out Equestria fanfiction. It's a very good full-out Equestria fanfiction. And I imagine through some sort of pseudo politics or whatever, he was forced to write it as the Reformation for Starlight. So he kind of shoved that towards the end, and it was half-assed, and that's why I think most people have a problem with Starlight. It is literally just the QD Remark ending, because Josh Haber clearly did not want to, and was very self-aware that he was a bad character writer, so he just didn't do it. And I can't really blame him for it, because like if you want to do one thing, then you just you want to do that thing. So and no amount of studio politics can change what you want to write. But then he gets less self-aware and less self-aware and less self-aware as the series goes along, where he wrote something like Shadowplay, where he brings like 6 characters with the personality of half a character and then forces them all into 2 episodes and does nothing with them afterwards. That's kind of what happens if you give Josh Haber the full reins of the show. I think the big mistake with Josh Haber was letting him control a show that he kind of didn't want to write. You mean like he didn't want to write a character-based show? He just wanted to do stories, like in Castlemania, which I think Castlemania is very indicative of the problems with season 1 and anything after Lauren Faust. So that's a different thing. What was I saying? It's a very fine story. It's a fine story, which is again indicative of what Josh Haber wanted to do. He just wants to write stories, and it doesn't work for My Little Pony. That's why he wasn't instantly given the reins to everything. Narrative-wise.
Nobody's instantly given the reins to everything right off the bat here. Heather, did you want to add anything or take away from anything?
We're getting a lot of different perspectives here, because I was about to say, like, when I had the list of Josh Haber episodes I went through, I was just like, okay, that one was fine. I get to some degree what you're saying with characters, because, like, in simple ways, that one got very, like, flanderizing of Rarity's character, but there was also, like, great character moments from others. Yeah, no. And freaking Leap of Faith, I feel like I have a lot of conflicting feelings about, because on one hand, Granny Smith is old. On the other hand, placebo effect is real. Like, I have thoughts about every single episode, and I can see where you're right and wrong about how he writes. I will say, like, I could go into my rant about how I think he made the worst season finale ever. And, like, and honestly, how good is your track record where every episode I look at that you've done has been middling to all right, and, like, the biggest, like, outstanding mark on your report card is that I super hate a season finale that you wrote. That's not a great report.
I think the difference is that I kind of try to not look at episodes. I try to look at the entire style when I judge a writer, because if
that's why I'm trying to do that as well. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying, like, okay, most of his episodes I'm either middling to all right, and then there's like a really, really big bad one, and I don't have like as big of a reaction to anything else. Like, you got to look at all the little parts and then look back and be like, yeah, you didn't do very well.
Yeah,
No,
you know,
I'm just saying that if you're trying to judge writers, you should judge them on completely different criteria from the way you judge episodes. Otherwise, you're just judging episodes.
But he wrote episodes. The episodes are what
He wrote
he
episodes.
made. That's what he did. He wrote an episode. And how good was that episode? Middling to all right. That's like a C. Then the big episode that he wrote sucked. Like I'm saying, I feel like I'm doing what you're saying I'm supposed to do, but you don't think I'm doing what you think I'm doing.
Okay, so
I mean,
I'm gonna come in with my thoughts now, because it's interesting that all three of you have some kind of beef with Josh Haber
yeah.
for different reasons, and I don't have any sort of beef with, because I'm looking over his list of episodes here, and for the chat, I'm just gonna list these real quick in order. Castlemania, Simple Ways, Leap of Faith, Bloom and Gloom, Cutie Remark, Crystalling, contributed to Gift of the Maud Pie, contributed to On Your Marks, co-wrote with on Stranger Than Fanfiction, co-wrote on The Fault in Our Cutie Marks, to Where and Back Again with, collaborated on that one. It Isn't the Main Thing About You, Uncommon Bond, Shadowplay, Moltdown, Road to Friendship, Father Knows Beast, School Raise Part 2, Sparkle 7 in collaboration with a lot of the other ones, in collaboration with some of the voice actors, as a matter of fact. Common Ground, Student Council, Dragon Dropped, The Big Mac Question, The Last Problem. So let me address Ave first, and then I'll address Ridge. Ave, you said you didn't like the direction that the way that he handled Starlight Glimmer in 6 and 7. And then you said you didn't like the School of Friendship in 8. Now, the School of Friendship I can mostly agree with you on. It was a very Twilight thing to do, though. Thinking that, especially because it directly took place after the movie, she comes back thinking, okay, we've been to these other nations, we've met a lot of other people, they don't have friendship like we have friendship in Equestria, so let me offer them an opportunity to come learn it. And then she's gonna go, okay, how do I learn? And this is something I've said about the main 6 a lot before, is they're not good teachers. So Twilight understands learning in a scholastic sense. So she builds a school with her princess powers. So I can understand the in-universe reason for it. Yes, there was probably a meta marketing reason behind it as well. Do I think it was a good idea? No. And I almost wish that she had gotten more pushback in universe, but she didn't. Everybody just kind of went with it. Like, even the main 6 just kind of went with it, even though some of them were like, I don't want to do that, or I don't think that's a great idea. I wish she had gotten more pushback in the story. I wish that they had also sort of pivoted, okay, this is what I was thinking when I originally started the school, but now after everything I've been through in the establishment of the school, I've learned some lessons and I'm going to pivot my goals to this. That's what I would have done. And that's neither here nor there. It ended up being better than what we expected it to be, the School of Friendship, because it, brought the young 6 together. And they were able to learn a lot of lessons through that school and cover things that had not been covered in the show up to that point, with the exception of the, Teacher of the Month award episode, which was literally just Fairweather Friends again, with slightly higher stakes. And I did not like that episode. I just straight up did not like that episode. And so that's season 8. Season 6 and 7. Let me ask you, because you were saying you don't like the way that Starlight Glimmer was handled, but let me ask you this. If you are the newest member of a well-established friend group, the rest of the friend group has known each other and been through thick and thin for 10 years. And then for whatever reason, and the circumstances may have even been contentious like it was with Starlight Glimmer, you come in, are you going to be close friends with everybody immediately? Are you going to be involved in everything immediately?
No, not immediately, but
right.
If you think about
it's probably going to take a couple of years to get that to really establish your role, especially if you're someone like Starlight Glimmer that is very uncertain of herself and now wants to take a back seat after having just fumbled leading so incredibly hard as she did. She didn't want to lead anymore. She wanted to be in the background. And, and also there were, while they accepted her under Twilight's leadership, they were still a little apprehensive of Starlight, and she messed up a lot, and they would reprimand her for it when she did. So I think it was a very realistic handling of Starlight. What do you think about that?
See, I will give you that. I guess we could try debating about timelines here in these later seasons, but maybe that's just getting too much into the weeds. I just think that for Starlight to be considered as important to Twilight as she was, I mean, I get, she's not technically part of the main six, but she is still extremely important to Twilight. You ever see those relationships where you have this friend group and like the leader, or just at least someone who has a prominent role in it, ends up taking someone else under their wing, and they develop a very unique and close friendship. Like just that is so strong, but in its same way distinct from the main group. Have you seen that before?
I suppose I have, to a certain degree.
I mean, it's happened to me before. I've seen it, and it's just I get it. I just feel like to put that much importance on Starlight as really Twilight's only student, and to a degree, Twilight having invested so much into this girl, just for her not to be considered, it doesn't really seem she was considered as important as when she was, as when they talked about it in the show.
Well, that was because she wasn't yet.
Yeah.
She hadn't gotten there yet, and that takes time and organic and being around people and going through things with them, and it's going to be a gradual thing. And shoot, I've gone a lot longer time of being in friend groups myself that I ended up never really being a part of, despite how much I was there. It happens, especially with a former villain. So those are my rebuts to those 2 points on how the characterization and the implementation of these concepts was handled. I can very easily see a writing aspect of it that's realistic and believable, and if anything, a good way for the audience on a meta perspective to transition into Starlight Glimmer's inclusion as well, because Starlight Glimmer was very controversial in her reformation, as we're seeing with Ridge, as we're seeing with Heather. A lot of people still don't like her, and and there are shows out there that did do what you're saying, where, okay, here's this new character, she's super important, she's just gonna go in there right away and be super important. We already did that. We did that in the Brady Bunch, and we did it in that 70s show, where they brought in that, I can't remember the kid's name from Brady Bunch, but when they brought it in and just, treated him immediately as part of the whole thing, and it was a bad character and nobody liked it. And they did the same thing with that 70s show when they tried to keep it going, even though Eric Foreman, who was arguably the main character of that show, went off to do some kind of mission trip in Africa or something crazy like that, right?
It was to get money for college.
Yeah, that. So, and nobody liked the character that they replaced Eric with either. So if they had done that here, Starlight would have been way more contentious with the fandom. Like there was a lot of people that hated Starlight and hated her reformation, and then came around as the following seasons went on to her. That would never have happened. We would have lost a lot more bronies like that. And so that's all my rebuttal to to the points that you were making, Ave. I'm going to turn my attention to Ridge now, who was talking about how Josh Haber can't write characters. And I'm looking at the list right here, and I'm just sitting here wondering, how could Josh Haber not write characters? Because I'm seeing a lot of plenty good characterization in here, and probably the most contentious one that I can see where you're coming from is Simple Ways, where Rarity flew off the deep end over some dude that she liked. But even then, see, here's the thing, and I did a whole video about this probably a little over a decade ago now, is characterization is a multifaceted thing. And a character can very easily, feasibly be almost anything given the moment. Now, you're going to have some archetypes, and you're going to, work within those archetypes in the, theory of characterization here. But you can stretch those characters pretty far and have it still be realistic and believable. We could all very easily see Rarity crushing on some, super important to her industry icon that she supposedly has a lot in common with, and I've headcanon that before, is Rarity is probably the loneliest character of the main 6 because she has the least in common with anybody else in the group, aside from maybe Fluttershy, but she doesn't really have a lot of people that she interacts with as she's trying to break her way into the fashion industry. We also know that she has romantic fantasies, so we could totally see her crushing on this type of character that comes in, only for him to get eyes for Applejack, one of her best friends. So with that, she goes, okay, I'll just be like Applejack, and then flies off the handle trying to be something she's not. I think it's a very easy way to go from step 1 to step, it's a very easy, understandable process of step 1 to step 4 of already freaking out, being covered in blood, that type of thing. So, even from a characterization standpoint, from the worst example that we have, it's still like, yeah, that's definitely a bit over the top, but I understand. Without condemning or condoning, I understand. The rest of these, I'm looking at the list here, and Ridge, I just straight up have no additional problems with
Not like
characterization or how. What's wrong with Shadowplay? Let's tackle that one.
I mean, all the characters have no character. There's too many of them. The villain, I forgot his name.
The Pony of Shadows, aka Stygian,
is soulless, and it's just it isn't even a character. It's just like a edgy blob for the plot to take place.
Right, I feel like I can explain this, but before I do, I want to hear what else you have to say. How are these, because what sounds like what you're saying are these characters are flat, and there's not a whole lot of depth to them if they just straight up have no. What do you mean they don't have character? Because I just straight up disagree with that assessment.
I mean, in the episode, there's no, because they don't do anything. They have characters, but not in a way that can be done anything with afterwards, not as like an aggregate thing.
Oh, they totally could have. They just didn't.
Ronnie, do you mind if I step in here?
Real quick, just for and just as a subjective point, yeah, I could totally understand the frustration of not doing much else with those characters, but I don't think we really lost a whole lot out of that in the grand scheme of things. Ave, what did you want to say?
So I will compare this to another beloved show, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Okay, now you got my attention.
So there was the core for it. Really, it started with with Aang, Katara, Sokka, and then we threw Toph in the mix. And then season 3, you threw in Zuko. Now, the reason that worked so well is because all of those characters, like especially like with Zuko, is because he was a main character beforehand. So, and one of the things that show did best was not overdo the amount of characters they introduced into the forefront. They had a lot of people that the core interacted with, that the core were opposed to, that the core had a passing with. And they just were really good about keeping those character interactions focused on the center characters. Now, MLP did that for that was season like up to season 4, and really for most of season 5 until the very end, where it was the main 6 and their world. Now, Josh Haber, he speaks about when he was first hired about how Megan McCarthy, one of her biggest desires for the show, one of her biggest desires for the show was to create a large, continuous plot from like beginning to end, either from the beginning of the show to the end of the show or the beginning of the season to the end of the season. And I think they just dreamt too big, and they were afraid they were running out of ability to like have like strong, hard-hitting season opening and endings and continuous plot points that carried the season through. So they just thought, all right, what if we just kept on throwing in more characters? And I understand from a writer's perspective why they would do that. Probably because they were worried they didn't have time to put out more for the main 6. They were worried they didn't have time to put out more for the characters they were adding. So they just did what they thought the best thing was to do, was to create a whole new cast, still based off the main 6, to kind of round out, season 7. Star Swirl was already alluded to, but I can understand what you're saying. I think what you mean is that it was an awkward introduction of characters that had a lot of importance placed upon them, and they didn't just show up and leave as, it would seem to happen in like Avatar. They were there for the relevance that they were there for, and then they were just gently shoved off. Or if they were more important, they were introduced, at later times in different interactions, kind of all gravitating back to the core. And that was the main deal. Is like, it just seems. I think what you're saying is that it seems like they didn't gravitate to the core, and so all of those side characters were kind of left to the limited characterization that was developed for them. I mean, how much? I mean, like take like Hercules for example. I mean, you got your epics and whatnot, and you got that one Disney movie, but he's a myth. He's a legend. There's no history to him. As Twilight Sparkle, she has a history. Like even Starlight Glimmer, she had a little bit more history than like than the Ancient 6 or whatever they're called. And to just like throw them in like that, to say, oh, these characters are so important. Look at how important they are. Building it out through season 7, which I did enjoy. Just kind of, it's like with Diamond Tiara. They finish her character arc and then she's never heard from again. And it just feels like there was so much more they wanted to do with it, but they were stuck within the confines of the status quo of the main 6, of Hasbro, and of 26 episodes.
Right,
so,
and I can understand that, but I don't really have a problem with that. And yeah, we can, as fans, wish that more was done, and that's why I was saying a second ago, from a subjective standpoint, I can definitely understand why we'd want to see more of them, but that doesn't make what we got bad. Even if Heather can't stop fiddling with her desk while I'm talking. What are you even doing over there, Petals?
I'm just trying to pick up some stuff around here. I'm trying to do it quiet.
15 minutes.
I'm sorry, my gain is out of this world.
It sounds like a construction site going on in the background while I'm trying to.
I'm not even doing that much.
He's going on a run.
So back to it. I can see from a subjective standpoint why we would have wanted more with these characters, but that doesn't make what we got bad. what we got was relevant to the plot while introducing these characters and still focusing on the main 6, the ones that, like you said earlier, sell the toys. And honestly, I prefer that as a fan. I don't want to keep jumping in between, because there were hundreds of characters by the end of it. It would have been too hard to connect with any one character if they had done what you were just describing. So we can really only take what we ended up with and ask ourselves the question, is it bad? And what you guys are saying right now is that I disagree with as a concept, is because we didn't get more, it was bad. And I don't think that's the case at all. I think what we got was just fine for what it needed to do. Because if we're progressing, and it works from a meta writing standpoint and what the fans want and what we can feasibly do in the budget that we're given, the time, the time frame, 20 minutes, 26 times, that works. And then it also works in the writing sense of what are we accomplishing with these characters? We're developing Twilight as the as the successor of Equestria over the course of, we'll say, 7 seasons, anywhere between 7 and 9, depending on, how you really look at it. So over the course of 7 seasons, and so she's got to learn something a little bit more each time. What does she learn in season 7? Well, she's still got a propensity to idolize and compartmentalize everybody in her life on a hierarchy. So we introduce the and there were some points in season 7 that we had foreshadowed the Pony of Shadows, and we had introduced the pillars across a few different episodes throughout season 7 as well, to introduce their accomplishments, what their characters were like, and that foreshadow, then they just disappeared and we don't know where they are, and they never left any sort of legacy, and some people don't even think they ever existed. And then it comes out, okay, now we're dealing with the Pony of Shadows because, Twilight accidentally unleashed it and brought back the pillars, the original elements of harmony. I've talked in length before about how the virtues of the pillars are great predecessors to the elements of harmony, and how the Young Six are perfect successors to the elements of harmony. As we saw in the ending of the end, when those 3 teams all teamed up against the Legion of Darkness there, we had the past, present, and future. So Twilight, getting back to the main point here, Twilight summons Starswirl the Bearded, who is one of her magical idols, and goes, okay, I have no reason to believe that anything this guy says is wrong. Well, what's his solution? Violence. And even though, he's looking at it from the older perspective where there wasn't any other way, but now in the future, having built off of what Starswirl and the pillars, the foundation that they laid, we now know that there are other solutions. But because Twilight idolizes the pillars, especially Starswirl, so much, when he says violence, she goes, shoot, that's probably the answer. And we need Starlight, the equalizer, the grounding force that doesn't have that same character flaw that Twilight has, to remind her, hey, Twilight, what about me? What would you have done? And if you believe that violence is the answer now, then do you really have any respect for me and the progress that I have made? Or have I just been wasting my time under you this whole time? And that made Twilight wrestle with that type of thing. And then eventually, with the help of Starlight, we were able to see that there was another way and use the modern methods to overcome an ancient problem and show the pillars that, they don't know everything either. So we really got a lot of development for everybody involved, but especially Twilight, in the goal of working her way to becoming a, worthy successor of Equestria. That was a heck of a rant I just went on. What do you guys think?
Well, I 100% agree with the point that you made there about Star Swirl and Twilight. As an 8th grader says, just to piggyback of what the previous guy said, yes, Star Swirl was there because that was the old way that he understood. Was that what it came, like? I'm not sure. Friendship wasn't magic. Probably in the ancient days of Equestria, violence was. So that was his first thought. In fact, that was probably his solution to a lot of the things that he did. And I'm sure there's something to be said about Twilight looking through his spells and wondering what ethical problems Star Swirl had with a lot of ancient Equestria and the beasts that they faced. And now taking that old ideal of the only solution is to remove it, to might makes right, to, putting that upon Twilight, who only understood friendship, but idolized Star Swirl so much that the only thing she could think of doing was whatever he said, because, like you said, she didn't really, when put in that kind of situation, of having your mentor, your elder, contradict you, when you, even for all of your history, are pretty sure the right thing to do is to make friends. It is a pretty good bit of brilliant story writing. I will give it that. So Josh Haber did understand that kind of characterization very well, and using Starlight Glimmer as the peacemaker, to extending the olive branch, because she in many ways found herself similar to Stygian, made sense. It really did. And I think I understand the complaints about, all the characters going on in there and just being so much and being such a challenge, to have, put that upon, your writing team.
Yeah. And my goal there was to just as thoroughly as possible rebut what Ridge had said about Josh not writing characters, because I'm looking at this list again, and so many of these are extremely character driven stories. Let's see, maybe not the cutie remark, maybe not the crystalling. Those were a lot more, things going on. Stranger Than Fan Fiction, I can see that as well. Fault in Our Cutie Marks, extremely character driven. It isn't the main thing about you. Rarity's, conniption over her hair, extremely uncommon bond. Molt Down, how do we handle dragon puberty? Road to Friendship, the one episode where Trixie did nothing wrong, and we're telling me that Josh Haber can't write characters. Father Knows Beast, where we really get into the relationship dynamic and the motherly instincts of Twilight Sparkle. Common Ground, Student Council, the group therapy session for the Young Six was not character driven. I'm sorry, I usually try to meet people halfway and understand things, Ridge, but you are wrong, sir. Please forgive me. Heather, what do you think? Petals, what do you think? I'm gonna transition into it. I'm getting better at it. I'm sorry, Petals, what do you think?
Oh my god, thank you so much for respecting my new identity. Anyways, I'm kind of with you there that a lot of his episodes were more character driven more than story. I especially want to jump onto the fact that he made the episode where everyone could see that Starlight was a bitch and Trixie is the best. So much Starlight in these episodes. I actually have some problems with like the frickin' sorry, I'm looking at the episode list right now so you just said the name of it and I already forgot what it is. Dragon Dropped. I gotta say, I don't feel like that one was the best written. I mean, Sledge was too obviously a piece of crap and obviously.
Are you talking about Father Knows Beast or Dragon Dropped? Because Dragon Dropped is the one where.
I'm sorry, I got them confused because that's the first one I saw on the list.
I will give you this, Heather. Dragon Dropped is another potential Flanderization of Rarity's character. If anything, I think Dragon Dropped is more of a Flanderization of Rarity than.
Oh yeah, is that the one I was talking about earlier that made me uncomfortable?
Yeah, than Simple Ways. That's worse than that one was worse in terms of Rarity representation than Simple Ways was. But yeah, Dragon Dropped was the one where Rarity was kind of giving off like jealous girlfriend vibes for this clearly underage dragon.
Yeah, like we were all kind of side-eyeing it, like, oh,
Yeah,
can you
I mean-
not do that?
That's not the first time that's happened because in Adventure Time when Princess Bubblegum becomes 18 again.
Yeah.
And
so
then
Oh, not 18, I think younger.
No, she was 18 in the show. Like as an adult. Like I mean, you know, technically she's like thousands of years
oh
old.
my
but-
god, I am too old to see an 18-year-old as an adult. The frick. But Heather, you were
my God.
you were going to talk about Father Knows Beast. What was your line there?
I was talking about how I don't think that was even a really well-written episode. Like, Sludge was so obviously a lying dirtbag and no one saw it. Come on.
Okay. Do you have any other points on that?
I'm going through the list and trying to, like, really get my full thing again.
Because that's another great
I
that's
do-
another great characterization episode where Spike, you know, has his usual because Spike occasionally has to wrestle with his nature versus nurture. You know, is he a
I'm
pony
seeing-
or is he a dragon? And now that and we know that he has this desire to connect with other dragons and have a father figure and something to look up to give him direction on what he should be because he feels out of place. And then he gets Sludge. So yeah, I could very easily see someone like Spike wrestling with that. I've known people in real life that wrestle with things like that.
Maybe it's because I fundamentally do not understand this struggle that I feel like Spike not being able to clock this immediately after he's seen tons of scamsters before, like, just kind of unbelievable. And no one else really being, like, able to call on it except for Smolder.
Mhm.
Like I was saying, Josh Haber is a big mixed bag to me, and when you have a mixed bag and then, like, there's, like, just one big glaring thing that you hate, I don't overall rate the writer that good.
Yeah, I get you. But like, Ed and Eddie did something similar. It was the movie I think that like was at the very end of the show where Ed. meets his
Okay,
big
hey
brother.
guys,
Meets
just
his-
a real quick here. We're losing Ridge. He says he's got to go. His parents are
Yeah.
back home. So, my dude, for future reference, if you join the show, try to stick with us. But I understand if you have to go. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
Do you have any closing thoughts you want to give us before you go?
Oh, no, just everyone else has good points. I've learned a
All right.
lot.
Thanks for coming on regardless, man. You have a wonderful night when we lose you.
Yeah.
To be
Alrighty
fair,
then.
Brony, we're going over time.
I thought we were going to go for the whole time.
Well, we are a little. I knew just by the concept that we were going to go over time. We're roughly on time. We did start a few minutes late and then took a few minutes to actually get into the topic. So that's there's that kind of thing there. But what were you saying, Ave?
I was saying that I can't remember if it was like the very last piece of media for Ed and Eddie or if it was just a movie that they put out.
Yeah, it was
the
the
movie.
movie.
Yeah, that was like the last thing they did, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so at the end when Ed meets his big brother, who he's like idolized, you know, absolutely idolized. He's the whole reason he's the way he is. That whole segment is about him learning how much his brother sucks. How trying to be like him is a terrible idea. And that how his brother doesn't matter what Ed does. His brother's never going to respect him whatsoever. And then like the whole, you know, group of kids comes together in Ed's defense. So I get what Haber was doing with Spike there, but I also understand at the same time it would have been better had his group of friends he's had since forever back him up.
Yeah, I can see that. So how does that relate to the topic at hand here? Sorry, I don't see the connection right away.
I thought it was like we were just talking about how Josh Haber characterizes still.
Oh, did Josh Haber write the
Right.
movie too?
No. I was just like it's just a similar connection to, you know, what Spike dealt with in that episode.
Okay,
So it's
yeah,
in,
I guess I
like,
can
it-
understand that, and listen, I can relate to that because that was a very similar relationship to what I had with my older brother, where, you know, I didn't realize how abusive my older brother was until I was, I mean, I knew he was abusive, but I didn't realize how bad it was until I was let me see. What year did he try to kill me? That was 2016.
Oh my gosh.
Was it 15? Was it 15? It was 15, right? And I
Wow.
had sort of known how bad he was before that, but I didn't really get a sense of how bad it was until I had heard that he like came at our father with an axe, or until he put a freaking sword up to my neck, right? Like it was that kind of thing. Like I sort of realized around the, I'd say 2013, 14, that was looking back on the way my older brother treated me, going, oh dang, that was really rough, and I probably developed a lot of really bad habits by his example. And then engaging in Mortal Kombat with my older brother, it sort of reframed everything to a much more severe level, if that makes any sense. So I totally, so all that being said, I totally understood the Ed, Edd n Eddy movie too.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, that sucks. I'm sorry. I'm glad, he didn't kill you, and that we're having this debate today. So, what's, that's bad. That's real bad. Wow.
It is. And then after all that, my parents were still gonna let him around. So there was just,
dude, that's nuts.
yeah. And there was one exchange, shortly before I ran away to Florida. I had one exchange with my mother, and my mother goes, I love you, right? And I'm like, yeah, I know you love me, but you clearly love him more. Because you watched him put a sword on my neck, and he's still around, and you're still you can see these, and and all these other things he's done throughout his entire life, of which there is a mile-long list written in 12-point font, and he's still around. That's absolute insanity. So
that is nuts. That is absolutely psycho. I mean, that's gotta. I'm sure you're still, reeling from that. Probably not as much. I'm sure you've had time to.
It doesn't. It affected my life a lot at the time. Like I said, I had to run away to Florida to get away from him, because he even from jail he was a threat. So it affected my life a lot now, but a lot back then. But it doesn't really affect my life now. The only thing I can do is hope to never see him again. So that's all. With all that being said, we can try to steer it back to the original point here of, I understand Father Knows Beast.
Yeah.
From a character standpoint.
Yeah.
Right. So Petals, what do you think about that?
I'm seeing your point a bit. I mean, I get maybe I just don't like
it. Everybody knows I'm right. I have at this point gotten everybody on this panel, to admit that I'm right. I just need you to explicitly admit that I'm right now. And I understand if you still don't like it.
You're right. You haven't let me crash out yet.
I understand if you still don't like it.
Politely listening to you guys talk about the middling episodes and the all right episodes.
All right,
there's a big ass elephant in this room that I've been waiting to kill for an hour.
Okay, go ahead and have your invalid cutie remark fresh out like you do on every other debate.
I'm about to validate this entire fucking chat. Listen to me, chat. I'm so fucking tired of being patient. Cutie Remark was the worst season finale we ever got as a fandom, and you should all be way more upset than you are.
That was one of the best ones, you cracker.
You shut the fuck up. You've been nonstop not shutting the fuck up this entire stream. Everyone shut up. It's the Petals Blossom show now. Shut your goddamn mouth. I know where you sleep.
I'm terrified, and I'm not even there, and I'm scared for my life right now.
Good. That was the worst season closer that ever existed. You guys don't think it's about Starlight Glimmer. Oh, you don't like Starlight Glimmer's backstory. We know that. You don't like Starlight Glimmer as a person. We get that. Heather, this isn't even the episode where she debuted that awful-ass haircut. We get into that. By the way, the Crystling featured that terrible-ass haircut. I know that's not Josh Haber's fault. I'm gonna blame him for that anyway, motherfucker. This is all your fault that she's like that! You know what really pissed me off about this episode is the The fucking butterfly effect time travel thing. God, that is the worst fucking thing in modern media to this day. It is the worst trope. I hate it so goddamn much. Every series has to have a fucking time traveling episode where they go back to the same period of time over and over and over again and keep fucking up the future every single time. What made you think I wanted to watch that? That is such an overused trope, and you use it for a season closer? Amateur hour over here, Josh Haber, you goddamn son of a bitch. I will metaphorically rip your throat out so you can never say another idea again, and I will break your fingers in Minecraft so you don't write another goddamn thing ever the fuck again. That was literally the worst use of tropes ever, and then you had
the show's been over for 6 years, Heather.
He had the balls! He had the balls to then make Starlight Glimmer a whiny-ass little bitch who lost her middle school crush to go into another school, and that was the dumbest shit I had ever heard of in my entire life. Yeah, we'll get into Starlight Glimmer. That is the dumbest character motivation I had ever heard in my entire fucking life. Starlight Glimmer, you socially inept son of a bitch, wannabe goth girl in your high school. You should have stayed a goth girl. You probably would have been a better character if you had been. Who the fuck crashes out because your childhood friend moved away? You fucking wuss. Why don't you focus on your dead mom, okay? Why did you freaking, at least Sunburst, who was like an inept beta male when we met him, at least didn't turn him into like a fucking menace to society because I guess his parents are divorced.
Hold up. Point of contention here. It was stated in like, it was stated online like that both Starlight and Sunburst do have both parents. They just couldn't fit both parents into that. They just couldn't fit both parents into that particular episode. They had to write around it.
Are you telling me that there's literally no other reason she's the way she is? She comes from a whole family with parents that still fucking love her, and the worst thing that ever happened to her was that her childhood friend moved away. You fucking white privileged first world problem son of a bitch. You made a terrorist organization, a communist cult, because a freaking 8-year-old in your neighborhood moved away? This was the worst fucking writing I've ever seen in my entire life. So yes, this man who's done middling to all right at best, and at his worst, made the worst fucking episodes in the history of My Little Pony ever? Yeah, this guy is the worst.
Okay, so Heather, first of all, you're wrong. And I'm gonna, and we've had this,
You're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? You're gonna look at me and tell me that I'm wrong? Her fucking backstory is bullshit, Brony.
Petals is like, she came down on a bubble, and you're gonna tell me that's what you sound like right now, Petals.
Yes, that was the whole fucking point. You're gonna look at me and tell me that I'm wrong?
Yes. Okay.
Petals,
first of all, you're
okay.
Go ahead.
I agree with Petals here. I do agree with her here, but not to the radical extent that she is going. Like she's losing her absolute marbles here. But I understand exactly why she says it, because to any normal person that makes no sense. Dr. Doofenshmirtz had a worse backstory than that, and he even came out a little bit better. He didn't try to erase time, so I'll give her this. I'll give her that. I think from a writer standpoint, and because I love Starlight Glimmer, I'm coping a little bit when I say it makes sense to the point that she's just probably a super autist.
Okay.
I don't think an autist could organize people the way that Starlight did. All right. So first of all, the only reason Petals doesn't like that episode to the extent that it did is that it combined two tropes that she subjectively does not like. Right?
Don't you fucking subjectively mean they're overused and it's stupid?
Yeah, okay, so you just gave me two. Don't you subjectify me and then gives me two subjective reasons?
That is objectively correct. That every fucking series, so many of them use this goddamn trope. It's freaking old. I am so tired of this bullshit. No, objectively, that is true.
Yes, it is. Let's break this down, Petals. It is objectively true that that most shows use a time travel element. It is subjective that you think it's stupid. A lot of people like it, and a lot of people liked Cutie Remark. I was one of them. Okay,
and you're a fool.
To pull a page out of Ave's book, that's your own fault. You married me. So apparently that invalidates everything according to these people. So
that's so dumb. No, and they used it badly. It was such an unsatisfying delivery. And what? The solution was like extending our hoof and friendship? Nah, freaking if Starlight's gonna crash out for forever because she lost a childhood friend, how did she not just end the multiverse?
So she did, So she did, and like you also gotta follow the psychology of it. As you know, Ruby Shine is in the chat confirming, and I can confirm as well. Kids will sometimes catastrophize this type of thing, and it can happen where that type of trauma sticks with you, especially as we learned later with a father that lives in the past and never wants anything to change. And so if that's the value that she's being raised with, she's gonna hold on to that catastrophization and never be able to move on, especially if she's having a lot of other trouble making friends because of that. So what does she do? She sees cutie marks as the problem and says, I'm going to erase cutie marks. So what does she do then? She she gets really good at magic and learns how to take away someone's cutie mark, makes everybody evil. Equal. She, for the most part, it like her cult there was for the most part contained. It was when she like tried to force the main six into her cult that she overplayed her hand and it backfired, at which point she continued to catastrophize and wanted revenge on Twilight Sparkle, and then just focused everything on it. So it wasn't even about Sunburst at that point. It was revenge because you, with your cutie marks, which I already had a problem with, and your talents, taking away everything that's important to me for the second time in my life. That type of thing, I can tell you from firsthand, Heather, is going to cause a death of character, or maybe even or maybe even more severely, an outright ego death. And a lot of people on a psychological level can't handle that type of thing. Heather, people kill themselves over less every day. And so it's not just because of Sunburst. That was the first domino that then knocked over a whole bunch of other stuff. And we can also go back to what I was saying earlier about development for Twilight. She there were certain lessons that she needed to learn. She couldn't beat Starlight in a duel. Starlight knew just as much magic as she did. And we can headcanon all day as to whether or not that as an Alicorn, Twilight would have been powerful enough. Like maybe she could have blasted Starlight if she just wanted to hurt her, like like she wanted to hurt Tyrek. Not the same thing, and not the point of the development there. And now we've got this character that we can't beat, so we had to befriend, otherwise it would have destroyed the entire future. And yeah, at that point, and I've seen people do this in real life too, where it's like, okay, if I can't have anything about me, right? If I can't have friends, if I can't have purpose, if I can't have community, then they want to watch the world burn. So I totally understand from a psychological, not to condemn or not to condone it, but I understand. I get it. And we figured out a peaceful way to neutralize that threat without having to outright kill anybody. So it all works perfectly well. You just don't like it subjectively. And there's nothing wrong with that either.
I really think it's more than subjectively. I think these tools were horribly used. That motivation, like, I get what you're saying. It's not all about Sunburst anymore, but then at least commit to the bit if you're committed to revenge.
How did she not?
Freaking, she let go of it in the end. She really had the ability to just keep going and end the world. But then it took Twilight being like, we don't have to live in the past, and friendship and shit.
Yeah, Twilight
and she was just like, okay.
A person, okay, so Heather, when somebody is suicidal, and it's not like and we can pin suicidal on Starlight, because she saw what Equestria was going to become, and she still chose this is better. I would rather be dead than have nothing. When people get that way, and it's not like a medical condition, a severe, like lapse in brain chemistry, it's because they have lost hope of ever being able to recover, or they're looking out into their future and not seeing a future for themselves. So when Twilight came in and gave her hope, that's how we neutralized it. Okay, I don't need to kill myself and take the entire civilization with me. I see a way to recover. And that's really what Starlight wanted. She always wanted a way to have a peaceful life and not have to live in the trauma that she had, but she didn't have the resources for that growing up. So she tried to make her own, and she took the wrong path. And then she got corrected. And, I would say thank God that we had a peace-loving ruler who could find the way to do that peacefully, because they were stalemated. They would have, story-wise, I don't see a problem with it. Theme-wise of the overarching show, I don't see a problem with it. Meta-wise, I don't see a problem with it. It's good.
I can see what you're saying of what they're going for. I think the execution was completely lacking. I could go toe-to-toe with you all day about how I find flaw with everything that was done here. I could tell you all day about how that fight being too one-sided was just incredibly demoralizing. And then the climax, if you even want to call it that, didn't really do much. It wasn't triumphant. Freaking people in the chat being like, that's the whole point of the show, Heather, friendship and magic. No, yeah, I haven't been here for 20 fucking years. I know that. There's some people, though, you shouldn't be friends with, and people who can't be saved.
Like Discord. Anyway.
Honestly, I had less problems. I had less problems with that.
Wow.
Yeah, less problems with that. Don't get me wrong. I thought, wow, that happened pretty quick. But because of that, his relapses made more sense to me because, hey, yeah, he kind of got on the train of friendship really quick. Of course he was going to have his relapses. Of course he was going to betray us a couple times. When it comes to Starlight, her relapses are a lot less understandable because we had, really big episodes just surrounding her redemption and her coming into the fold. So her relapses were just that much more to me. Dude, I had to spend 30 minutes of my life watching a horrible episode just for you to get to this point, and this is what you do?
See, I understand what you're saying there, where it just seems remarkably out of character. From a writing perspective, where it just seems like it was just done incorrectly. I get it. It isn't the main thing about you. Where it just seems, it really doesn't seem like it is malevolent. What we have fixed in Starlight's issue is malevolence, but what she doesn't understand still is social faux pas. She has not.
Yeah, she had a big boundary issue.
Yeah, she has not been properly socialized, really, even after her redemption. In how long? Ever since she was a kid? I mean, we don't know what happened when she was a kid, when she, went on her,
She went through the goth phase, apparently, and that's kind of antisocial, but pretty hardcore.
I mean, yeah, and not all goths are antisocial, I guess, but who knows? It was just, weird. And I liked Isn't the Main Thing About You because it made sense, but I also understand how it doesn't when you, it's like polishing a ball of dirt. Saying, yeah, oh, look how shiny this ball of dirt is. Look at how big this is, but it's still a ball of dirt. Where if it was handled with more delicacy, and maybe they did with her what they did with Discord, where she went away for a bit after. I guess they did do that, but that was across seasons as opposed to having it in the one season. I don't know. I wanted it to be better. It just wasn't. I see what you mean. I still love her as a character, but it does seem like it was not handled appropriately. But we just can't fix everything that the show put out. It's like Josh Haber.
Oh, well, yeah, fine.
it's like Josh Haber said in the interview, is that the fans know more about the show than even the creators seem to. So, hindsight's 2020. People are going to be debating this like we're doing now in the next probably 10 years. There's going to be a channel just like yours, Brony, that's going to be doing this thing on Saturdays saying Starlight Glimmer was bad, Starlight Glimmer was good, Josh Haber sucks, Josh Haber is okay, Josh Haber's the best. I mean, we're at this point cemented ourselves among the Trekkies and the Star Wars fans. So, you know what? Maybe that's the best.
That's the whole point of this show is getting people with different opinions in here and figuring out, trying to understand each other and obviously vent about issues that we have not gotten over, even though we maybe should have.
I'm the entertainment factor.
You're the
Look how much engagement you're getting. You're welcome.
Yeah, 12,
the
12 viewers.
The view count actually went up. Yeah, no,
12 viewers. Look at everyone. Look at those all caps in the fucking chat now.
It usually does go up when Heather starts screaming about Starlight Glimmer. I don't know what.
Yeah, it's usually Rusty being like, "Shut up! Shut up! That's my wife! Shut up!"
No, she's my wife too, so I understand.
We're sharing wives.
Hey, Mimosa is also my wife, so
she's in my bed right now, bro. I don't know what
she's in my bed too. I don't know what you're talking about.
I have 2 wives in my bed right now. I have the plushie and the docky.
I got 3.
I did not.
Where'd you get a third one?
I did not consent to being in this polycule.
Well, you didn't do anything to stop me, honestly.
I specifically said, Heather, I don't like having dockies in my house, and you're like, but it's cute, and then proceeded to ignore me.
I was like, but I want it. You could give something more than a pathetic, I don't like that. And I'm like, but I like it, and bought it.
How did we get so far off topic? Oh my gosh, we were talking about Josh Haber. I guess this happens.
Well, overall, I would say Josh Haber.
Yeah.
The White Eagle said, could it be like the difference between someone being a good employee but a bad manager? Like Haber has some skill in writing, but him as a lead editor was awful.
Yes.
I still don't see a problem with him as the lead editor. Like even if we look at it from a production standpoint, which I don't always like doing, but let's just play hypotheticals here for a second. We have to ask the question, did Josh come up with the idea of the friendship school, or did Hasbro come in and go, we want a friendship school, Josh, make it work?
I mean, like, did they have a gun to the back of his head when they said it?
Listen, if they were going to, because they got rid of Lauren Faust over a similar type of deal, right?
Mm.
So if it's not going to be Josh, then they'll just trade Josh out for somebody with less morals, and less moral people are usually not as good of writers.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just asking the question, was it Josh's idea, or was it dictated to him and he did the best with what he could do?
We'll never know.
I can rationalize the School of Friendship in universe. I think it ultimately could have been handled better if not avoided, but for what is there, it's not bad.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay.
That's right. Brawny wins the debate again.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think you did, but Brawny, we have to ask this very important question. Now that we've brought up like Josh Haber and now the topic of Starlight Glimmer and Sunburst that comes with it, do we ship them though?
Yes, absolutely.
Me personally, I feel like there's a lot of baggage there and it could get weird. I prefer them to stay friends, keep it platonic. What about you, Brony?
Lester Dawn is their kid. That's a fact.
Listen,
that's not. Oh, you stop. No, she's not.
Listen,
where'd she get blonde hair from?
I need my words to carry a lot of weight right now. As a staunch proponent of the childhood friends to lovers trope, I do not ship Starlight and Sunburst.
You got to be kidding me.
It's weird.
That is bizarre. Oh my god.
Roughly for the same reasons that Petals gave. I feel like you would have to. I'll say this: it's possible. I would need a season, an entire season of very well written development to lead it there. And it would be, and if they did that, it would have been blatantly obvious from 10 miles away that that's where they were going. So in order to get around a lot of the problems that Petals was mentioning, it's not impossible, but it would need to be very well written, and that would take a lot of time, and it would still be obvious from a long time away in a way that might actually interfere with the rest of the story. So it's risky in order to get over all that baggage. So even as someone who loves that trope, I don't ship it. Petals, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I just went on the wiki for Luster Dawn, and in development section, like, take everything you get from the wiki with a grain of salt, but it says Josh Haber and Jim Miller have disagreed whether either Starlight Glimmer or Sunburst are related to Luster Dawn. Haber implied they may be, but Miller said he felt it would not make sense for the daughter of the heads of the School of Friendship, who are also personal friends of Twilight Sparkle, to have such an anti-friendship attitude and have little idea as to who Twilight and her friends are. However, Miller ultimately said it's up for the fans to decide. So you can have the fans part, but I think I'm kind of with frickin' Jim Miller's thing here. That wouldn't make a lot of sense, would it?
Well, we all know somebody that grew up in a very religious household and then forsook cast off the religion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure which the proper tense and suffix was for that word. I don't know how I don't know that, but I don't know that. Who no longer is of the faith. We all know somebody like that. It's certainly possible for that to be Luster Dawn, but yeah, I would sooner guess, knowing Twilight as a character, that she had a very promising student in the Magic Academy at Canterlot, and took her under her wing. Probably did a similar test to the way that she did it. I would have loved to know more about Luster Dawn. I would have taken another 5 seasons of Luster Dawn.
Well, in technicality, does that make her the other Sunset Shimmer then?
Not really. Yeah, I don't see that. Now, granted, like, we were talking about the pillars and whether or not they had character earlier. I saw less character out of Luster Dawn, but that was because Luster Dawn's entire episode, well, somewhere between 70 and 90% of that episode was a flashback.
Yeah, it wasn't about her.
Yeah.
Really.
It was just, I don't understand the need for friendship, but I'm Twilight's apprentice somehow.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure what to say about it. I don't think Luster Dawn would have been related to Starlight or Sunburst or anybody for that matter either.
Mm-hmm.
What closing thoughts do we have? And one thing we learned tonight, Ave.
Closing thoughts. Josh Haber is not as bad as I thought he was. He is a great writer. And even if he didn't watch any of the episodes before getting the job as a writer, it's still clear that he did love the show and the characters that he wrote. I still think he could have much handled the later seasons better, especially with the School of Friendship. But now understanding it from his perspective as where he was and the pushback he was getting from top and bottom, I get it a bit more now. So I retract my position on Mr. Haber.
Alrighty then. And Petals, I got it right that time. And the cat behind you. Let's ask the cat behind you as well.
Kitty, come here!
Closing thoughts and one thing you learned tonight.
Well, honestly, I hadn't, like, when I watch episodes of a show, I'm not really thinking of who's writing what. I just take the show in as a whole. So when the topic got brought up, like, hey, this particular writer is bad or whatever, I was just like, well, shit, what did he write? And I looked through the episodes, and like I said, I was thinking, oh, well, mixed bag. I mean, he wrote the couple episodes that I really, really hate, but the rest of them were all mostly tolerable, except for 1 or 2 here. And he made, I mean, It's Not the Main Thing About You is epic. We got freaking punk rock rarity out of that. I can't deny a good thing when I see it. So I think I'm still roughly where I am, where I'm like, he's a mixed bag, but what's it matter when overall loved the show?
I'll say that I think Josh is a really good writer. I think he did a really good job on the show. For what he did. I have some questions on where some concepts came from, and I don't fully agree with everything that was done, but I think what is there works really well for it. And as for what I learned, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head that I learned, but I'm definitely reminded that I tend to look at the overarching concepts of the show a lot deeper than most people do. Like, because I was bringing up stuff about how the different seasons play into each other and things like that, and I suppose I must introspect and wonder for myself, am I looking too deep into, and I'm gonna say the dirty word here, this children's show? Maybe I am.
Hey,
Who
it's
knows?
a family show.
Hey, it's not just for girls anymore, buddy. You learn this at Mare Fair.
Yeah, we're feminists.
Also, I just realized that I got every little thing she does, and it isn't anything about you mixed up. Like a goofus.
I get all these mixed up. I can't remember stuff. You gotta give me the broad summary of the episode. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that episode.
Well, I think that's a good spot to close it out for tonight. Thanks for coming on. Did you guys have fun?
I had a great time. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, Rusty saying, Rusty, that quote got banned from the show. I had to ban that quote.
He's
because we
bringing it back.
Y'all were abusing it like every week on average on the show. I didn't
It
learn
was
anything.
always me because I'm always right.
And if it wasn't you, it was Cordero, and it got really freaking annoying. But I will say I won the debate tonight. I will objectively say that I won the debate
What
tonight.
were you trying to do with this again? Like, what were you trying to prove?
That Josh Haber was a good writer, and you guys are wrong for thinking he's a bad writer.
I'm just like,
I agree. You're right.
I'm
But
just like,
man, you don't have to gloat about it. My goodness.
probably mid. Probably mid.
Just let me have this. You usually don't let me have anything.
Okay. Shit.
I gotta fight
Relax.
tooth and nail for everything.
Oh, my
Anyway, thanks for
That's what
tuning in,
marriage
everybody.
is, you fool.
No, it's not. It's supposed to be teamwork. We learned this in
Yep.
premarital counseling. You're supposed to be on my team. You're supposed to support me.
Not in the debate dojo.
She makes a good point.
Paladin, I was just about to say that I am not going to do any gaming tonight. I will do some gaming tomorrow. Beautiful and most awesome wife of mine, would you like to play some more Fallout? Not Fallout. I always get it mixed up. Mass Effect tomorrow.
Hey, we could play Fallout after we're done with the Mass Effect series for sure.
Oh God, I don't think I want to do that though.
Okay, we'll finish the Mass Effect series and we'll see where we go from there.
All right. Well, yeah. This went on a bit over time. Petals is gonna go live with her stream, and I might come in and hang out there. So tune into that on her channel. As soon as it goes live at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will see you guys tomorrow at roughly this time to play some Mass Effect. Until then, stay safe, God bless, and have a wonderful